BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we'll be answering about that team in our August 21st preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we got one of the big names in the big country, one of the top programs that we've got, the storied program, the Brownwood Lions.
Yeah, and this is a Brownwood program that under Coach Sammy Burnett has become kind of a perennial contender, and they're coming off a 12-2 season, and they do have some spots to fill this year. They only returned 19 of their 40 lettermen, including 6 offensive and 3 defensive starters, but they'll be filling holes with a 10-0 JV team. And I think the biggest thing, and we kind of talked about this before we even started, is that Coach Burnett has rebuilt the tradition to Brownwood at Brownwood to the point where I think that they go into every season expecting to be very, very competitive, and I think the same will be the case this year. So I think it's going to be a very fun year for the Brownwood Lions. Obviously, some questions to answer, and we'll talk about some of those here in a little bit. But I think the expectations for Brownwood and at Brownwood are high, and I think there's a good reason for that.
All right, before we get going, we want to remind you YouTubers to please hit the subscribe button. Also, hit that little bell so you get notifications every time the Big Country Preps comes up with a new video. Also, we'd like to thank a couple of our sponsors, beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of KLAX 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, 97.7 FM KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a vehicle, give Rob a shout at 254-559-2266. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. That is Rob Durham up at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge.
And with that, let's go ahead and jump in. Let's talk about these Brownwood Lions and some of the biggest questions that they'll be really needing to answer this year if they hope to achieve their goals. And they do have some questions. Like I said, only 19 lettermen back and not a ton of starters back. But I think one of the biggest is at the quarterback position, where they have graduated a tremendous 2-year starter in I call, one of the top dual threat quarterbacks in the state at the Class 4A level, much less the area. That's going to be some big shoes to fill. He was a guy that really did a lot for them offensively. And my question is kind of what is that position going to look like this year? I think they're expecting a 3-way competition in what should be really fun between a senior Braden Stacks, junior Judson Colson, and sophomore Rory McNeese. So that to me is going to be a big thing to watch throughout two-a-days, especially, and into the start of the regular season, just to see what their quarterback position, who ends up earning that starting job out of that competition, and then just what they can do in terms of leading the offense. Because again, you are replacing a kid who was a very special player, and none of those kids need to be I call, but they do need to find a way to lead the offense and to be productive. So I'm excited to see how that plays out.
If Brownwood has a big question mark, it would be in replacing most of its defense. They only have 3 starters back. But let's not forget that they do have a bunch of lettermen coming back, and a lot of those lettermen played a year ago defensively. They have 19 guys, 19 people who earned a letter coming back. A lot of them played defense. A lot of them got reps, and they do have some big names coming back. Weston Wolf is back on the defensive line. He's a guy that had 71 tackles last year. Noah Gonzalez is back in the defensive secondary. He had 122 stops last year. Robert Trowbridge is back. He's a 250-pounder. He got 62 tackles last year. There's some talent coming back, but there's a whole bunch of guys that got a lot of reps defensively. So I think that's misleading when you say, well, they only got 3 back on defense. If they find the right combinations and they get guys in a position where they're comfortable and everybody's, because they're going to be doing a musical chairs thing. People are going to be moving around. But if they find the right spots for everybody, there's talent there. I think they're going to have a quality defense again.
Yeah, and the last question, and one thing you and I talk about, with some frequency when we do these preseason things, is about reload programs and rebuild programs. And I'm eager to see if Coach Burnett has gotten this Brownwood program to a point where it is now a reload program, that like 9 combined starters, offense and defense this year. but the expectations are sky high. The expectations aren't changing, and then again, you're replacing those holes with a JV team that was undefeated last year and has a bunch of kids who are used to winning and expect to win. So I'm excited to see what kind of contributions those kids can make, just jumping into up to the varsity level and seeing where they can kind of fit in. And I'm excited to see that if Brownwood can keep that train rolling. 12 wins last year. This is a program where you're never surprised to see them reach double digit wins under Burnett, and I think that's going to be fun to see if they can continue that and maybe even compete for a district championship. And now they're back in a district with rival Sweet Stephenville, so that's going to be super fun. But it's going to be a lot of fun to see if Brownwood can just keep this thing going.
I think they will. I think this is a reload program now. That 10-0 JV team is a piece of evidence, to that fact. I can't believe that Sammy's been there. This is his eighth season now. This is going into his eighth season at Brownwood, and he has restored the pride in Brownwood football. It's back, and he's been there for the long haul now. He's going into his eighth season. This is a reload program now. Just with the amount of participation that they're getting, uh, they lose more than 20 lettermen this year, and they're still going to field a quality ball club with huge offensive linemen, good athletes all over the field. The Lions are back.
Yeah. And when
Period.
I say reload, I'm not saying, I mean, I expect at this point they're going to field a playoff team. I think everyone expects that.
Sure.
I'm just wondering if they can continue when you have those types of graduation losses, step back up and still be competing for district championships and double digit win seasons. And I think that's their goal, and I'm excited to see if it plays out that way.
All right, with that, we're going to take a quick look at Brownwood's schedule for 2024. We'll start with the non-district portion, and it's what a whale of a non-district schedule for Brownwood. Dan, that's a fun schedule. You were looking at that a little while ago, and that is a fun schedule. They open with Abilene Wiley on August the 30th. That's going to be a home date with Wiley. They're going to be at Wall on September the 6th. They will play host to an excellent Glen Rose team on September 13th. And when we say excellent, we mean excellent. They have got Waco La Vega coming to town on September the 20th, and we know about them. At China Spring, another great team. That's a road date. That's September the 27th. And then Ingleside on October the 4th. And that'll be a neutral site game at Bernie before heading into district. And they'll open on October the 11th in district.
Yeah, and what a non-district schedule. Even the Ingleside team was 11-2 last year. You're talking about just a loaded schedule. Like you said, open district October 11th at Lampasas, and they finally get a break on the 18th, get their open date on October 18th. Then they could start back on October 25th with a home date against Burnett, sorry, and then they go to Stephenville for what should be just a massive game on November 1st before wrapping up their district schedule November 8th at home against Marble Falls. That is an awesome schedule. When you look at a schedule and you see in the preseason, 6 or 7 potential Big Country Preps games of the week, it's pretty wild. And it's really that way. I mean, it is one just huge game after another this year for Brownwood.
All right, and it's time now to pick the game of the year for Brownwood. We picked a game of the year for every team that we cover, and that being the most important game of the season, the game that they really need to win, either to qualify for the playoffs or to improve their seeding. And I think this one is a no-brainer. This one right here, it just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, I think you and I are going to have the same answer here, and we're going to have the same answer when we come back and do this tomorrow with Stephenville. But to me, the game at Stephenville, November 1st, that's the one that you circle now. That is going to be a massive game. These are two teams that met in the regular season last year, played a really good game, dang near met in the state semifinals last year. Both fell one round short of that in good football games, but we almost had a Brownwood Stephenville state semifinal last year, and that's going to be a huge game November 1st for what will likely be for the district championship, in my opinion. So that's going to be a huge one.
Absolutely, I agree. You said everything. You said everything that I was going to say. That rivalry is one of the best in Texas, and this year's edition is going to be an exciting one. Absolutely. And with that, it's about time to wrap up this edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, the Brownwood Lions. But before we do that, we want to remind you August 21st is the big day here at Big Country Preps. That's the day we release our preseason football preview. We'll have previews for all of the 11-man teams that we cover. We'll have an overall 6-man preview. We'll have features for every team that we cover, a player feature. We'll have opinion pieces. We'll have predictions. We'll have lots and lots of photos. We'll have videos. district predictions, you name it, we're going to have it. It's the most comprehensive look at big country high school football of any media source that you're going to find. And we also cover a little bit outside of the big country, and that's expanding, as Dan's about to tell you.
Yeah, the Big Country Preps coverage area is growing this year by 5 schools. Those are Mineral Wells, Glen Rose, Graham, Toller, and Miles. So we are super excited to be adding those 5 schools to our coverage area. We hope y'all are excited to follow our coverage of those schools throughout the school year. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-Day series, and make sure you join us again tomorrow when we do discuss those Stephenville Yellow Jackets here at BigCountryPreps.com.